Ma'am, September 11th marks the death centenary of Subramaniam Bharati, great poet, reformist, freedom fighter. What relevance does he have in modern day India and particularly modern day Tamil Nadu?
If there is any one writer, poet who's more relevant to India today than ever before, it is Bharati. Because he didn't just talk about winning freedom. He spoke about so many other things. He actually had his own picture of an India. He thought of science. One of his songs says, the electricity from that part of Sindhu will come down for us. And he talks of what is good in each. Prime Minister Modi today is talking about vocal for local and is also saying each district highlight that one product which is good for export. So one district, one product. Bharati's songs will highlight to you the number of absolutely unique products for each of the states, and also looks at how that can be taken forward, how Indian women can contribute, how there shouldn't be that oppressive caste differentiation on every aspect that modern India is, in a way struggling to find a newer, more open-minded, a progressive kind of a formation, was all dreamt by Bharati. But the songs, each one of them, doesn't have any small, light, gentle words. They are very strong, powerful words. It can, if you know the language, it will be like an electricity shock hitting at you, or a lightning in the night which has that brightness which hits you. That's the power of his songs and his ideas.
Ma'am, last December, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while he was praising Bharati's acumen, had said that his government is inspired by his work, and at the same time he had said that he was working towards ensuring women-led empowerment. Would you weigh in on that idea of what role did he play in women emancipation?
Absolutely. For his period, the time when he lived, to have to walk even with your wife in public would have been, it's all right, everybody should go together, but what is it that the two of you all will have to do? That kind. And it wasn't peculiar to any one particular community, but women were, all right, you may be equal, you may do a lot of things at home, but still when we're going, no public display of affection. Bharati, in order to question people who say that, walked with his wife, sometimes having his hand on her shoulder, and walked and spoke and displayed that he treats her equally in public, much to everybody's mocking him. But he didn't allow that to worry him. But at the same time, not just in that kind of a display, the songs he wrote on women of India. What is that women that he's looking at? Indian women are capable of being anything that once they take a determination. He saw what I would say, Shakti in each one of them. Not the usual way of, we see Durga, we see Saraswati, but he actually thought empowered women are the ones who are women anyway. So what are we trying to talk about? Empowering women. They are fully empowered. We should recognize them. And also describes who we think is a Indian woman. He sees her walking with, shoulders held wide, chin up, looks everybody into their eyes, doesn't, coyly, none of that. And further goes to describe an Indian woman. So, and he also has that invocation of, if women are this, why would we want to have them anywhere except for equally with us? So I can recite some of those songs that he talks about the power of women.
Please go ahead.
So the one example that I gave you straight away, Nimirunda Nadayum, Nerkonda Parvayum, these are words which are enough for any women if they want to draw strength.
Ma'am, Bharati wrote widely on caste discrimination, equality and secularism. So the opposition and Dravidian parties both have claimed his legacy. The Tamil Nadu BJP is saying that the parties that have ruled the state, have governed the state, have always placed other social reformers such as Periyar above Bharatiya. How do you see this politics playing out?
So in a way, I would want to say, for a very long time, decades, Bharati was not given his due. And Tamil Nadu, since the death of Bharati till 47, anyway under the British rule, post 47 too. I gave an example today for you. If you were in the place in the Mani Mandapam where I spoke,
Yes.
Bharati's first Mani Mandapam, or the memorial, place, which is what I visited today, was first established in 1945. The groundwork began 1945, and at that time too, one of his sort of patron, there were very few people who patronized or supported, sponsored Bharati. Famous Tamil magazine called Kalki. The founder of that magazine, his name carries the magazine's name, Kalki Krishnamurthy. He was the first one to have found a place in Ettayapuram, sort of created the foundation related work, had Rajagopalachari come and do the inauguration, and in 47 when the whole thing was completed, it was an open, all four sides, it was an open structure with a bust of Subramanya Bharati inside it, and inside meaning between the four pillars, and it was inaugurated by the then West Bengal governor, again Rajagopalachari, who in fact, these are things which I want to mention because Bharati's eyes always had that fiery flame. People who have seen him have always said that, and they've also spoken about it. So till he went to Pondicherry, Puducherry now, everybody's noticed that fire in his eyes, and with which he would, slightly like a eccentric, he would conduct himself and speak about how India has to be and what is it we have to do, when that kind of outpouring in his poetry. And the way he had to struggle after going to Puducherry and then coming back, trying to come back, and when he wanted to come back to British India from French India, he came via a place called Kadalur, which was also under the border, at the border. He was captured by the British, arrested, kept in prison, everything. When he came back to Chennai, probably he came by train, Rajaji goes to receive him. Rajaji, on seeing him getting off the train, said, what has happened to him? The eyes have lost the sparkle, that fire. It is not the same pair of eyes. So that the volcanic kind of pouring out, also the eyes reflecting the anguish with which he was saying it all, but yet he was never negative, was graphically described in the book as an observation by Rajaji. So the thing about him is he lived only 38 years, but he was so full of that force which he wanted all Indians to have and display, to have this country taken to its due prominence. Every one of his poem really comes out with that kind of a force.
We are in Ettayapuram. You were at his birthplace. You were at the memorial. The memorial, of course, was built by MGR. Ma'am, it is often that the district administration looks after the upkeep only when it is his birthday or his death anniversary. Why is it that multiple governments tend to forget his contribution, or is it that they are not able to understand his contribution?
No, continuing with the answer to your last question and coming to this. So Bharati's recognition was not across the board for a very long time. And that is why I said Rajaji and others felt there was somebody who was equally eminent called Mapo Sivanyana. He's called Selambut Chelvar. Even he used to speak a lot. But it took a long time, and I'm saying this with a certain sense of responsibility, for some leaders to recognize him who had ignored him for a very long time and then said, yes, we understand that he had a very big role to play for both Tamil and also for the freedom movement. And if politically prominent leaders, I'm not naming them, politically prominent leaders had to say that much after the world had recognized and India had recognized, Gandhi had recognized, it shows that there was an element of politics which played, probably because of his birth as a Brahmin, but the fact that he had lived with values which would bring in all communities together, treating women equally and so on. Despite all that, he did not get his due for a very long time, and it took an explicit statement by eminent leaders that yes, Bharati was not given his due. So that is one. Now you came to this point of district administrations only remembering on the birthday or the death anniversary. It is true. And strictly speaking, not just the administration, to make the administration live with the memory of such great people who not in a century, not even in a millennia will we have such people be born again. We need a lot more citizens' consciousness. People will have to be aware, and that is why it's important to recall the fact that Bharati died in 1921, but by 1946 it still took a lot of time, but that is the phase when all of us were struggling for the freedom movement. But the 1946 foundation and the 47 opening of the memorial here was funded by the people of Ettayapuram, and also there was a Ilakkiya Mandram, literary circle within Ettayapuram, which is the one which had the idea of bringing a memorial, and in which many people who were associated with Bharati, even remotely. One example is, he taught Tamil in Setipati High School in Madurai. He did it for a few months and then probably chose to write and become a journalist. That school's students, even in 1946-47, 20 years after his death, wouldn't have seen them, who wouldn't have been taught by Bharati, but still wanted to contribute because former teacher. They all contributed for the first phase of this Mani Mandapam, which was inaugurated by Rajaji in 47. But again, a phase of forgetting Bharati. After 47, we don't know what happened to that memorial. Post 47, God knows what were the kind of activities there. It's sometime in 80 that this new one has come. So unfortunately, periodically we seem to have forgotten the physical structures which remind us of Bharati, and also going there to help keep the memory alive. So I would suggest strongly, not just in Tamil literature, but also Tamil teaching in schools, Bharati will have to be discussed all over the world.